Hello, Control Alt listeners, and welcome to another exciting episode of Control Alt Listen. Today, we're coming to you live from this OpenText Summit in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm joined today by our Managing Director of ANZ for Sales, George Harb. George, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Suren. Appreciate it.
George, as we've been through today, I think before we go into a little bit about the summit, can you tell us a little bit about who George is? Because I think the Asia Pacific region know you, but our international audience don't really know who you are.
I joined OpenText about 8 years ago. Actually, the anniversary is only a couple of days away, and joined the Asia Pacific management team. During that time, managed portfolio, business network, the ANZ enterprise team, and as of this time last year, was asked to manage the newly acquired Micro Focus team, combined with the original OpenText team, and that's where we are today.
Great. So George, today has been an exciting and amazing day filled with engaging conversations from our customers and partners. And I particularly enjoyed the plenary session with our guest speaker and some of the other speakers. So from your perspective, George, what have been the top takeaways or highlights for you from this morning's sessions?
Well, it's interesting because if you review the recording, I stood up there and I spoke about close your eyes, everyone, and imagine I'm George the aviator.
Yeah.
Right, and then I presented my summary. Yep. of my key takeaways of the discussions, the plenary and prior, and as I was doing that, I was thinking to myself, you know what, this is what AI is about, because ultimately someone who's recording it would instantaneously be able to take the transcript and then run AI over it to actually pull out the key points, and then within that minute I'd be up there and I'd be talking about, these are my key points. Yeah. But I had to write it down, I had to listen to everything. And so for me, the key takeaway is AI truly is going to be a human potential enabler, because that would have saved me so much time, and would have probably enabled me to be a little bit more detailed in my views, instead of trying to quickly take down notes and get up there and talk.
So if I said to George.ai, what was the most important takeout from this morning's session for you?
Oof. For me, it is around the reinvention of an organization, right? So they need to reinvent themselves in the way that AI can enable them to leverage different ways of thinking, to change the way they work from processes, to take advantage of the technologies they have today and connect them so that AI can truly penetrate in their decision making throughout the organization. So a lot of the elements that I heard was technology is available today. It just really is about you starting before you're ready, I think was the term that Gihan mentioned.
Correct.
Which is, you're there, start to play.
Okay. Now George, you lead the ANZ region for OpenText, right? And if I'm not mistaken, that market's predominantly government, right? Or is it not?
No, it's a mix.
Is it a mix?
It is a mix. We're about 60% government,
okay,
and 40%, so 60-40.
Okay, so that leads into my next question. So from an adoption in technology between private sector, government in ANZ, are you seeing an equal trajectory as where people are going with technology, or are people at different phases of where it's at?
Yeah, the Australian government is currently working with enterprise and government departments around a code of conduct around AI, because at the moment there's a lot of organisations which are adopting and implementing, Copilot or other AI tools into the way that they work, and government organisations are starting to also think about how to adapt and adopt the AI tools in the way that they work. But the framework of code of conduct, which addresses the issues such as privacy, security, the ethics behind the information being used, that still needs to be flushed out. when it does, then I think you probably see a lot of organisations moving with a bit more confidence. In the Australian New Zealand market, we've seen organisations make it very clear that their staff are not to use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Organisations which are taken on Copilot as another example, where they've really limiting its use within certain areas, because those elements we spoke about, privacy, security, ethics, aren't really clear yet in terms of how that will be impacted with these tools.
Yeah, I think you raised an important point, because I think when we spoke this morning, we talked about not taking your data to AI, but bringing AI to your data, in terms of it being a secure environment. So what was interesting for me was watching the results from the poll. People want privacy, but people also want to adopt technology. When we're discussing this in the ANZ market, are you seeing people being a little bit more relaxed about that, or are they still cautiously optimistic?
Oh no, they're cautiously optimistic around adopting the technology, but they are very much risk adverse to a deep deployment. Everyone's in a sandpit at the moment, right? They're all dabbling in it one way or another, but how it's going to be fully rolled out, and I think Gehan spoke about the real enabler for AI is the connectivity of all the various technologies and services that you provide the customer, and that's going to truly change the way an organization works, or really advance the human potential in every aspect of life. But until that connectivity happens, everyone is still they're still in the sandpit, right? They're still adopting. If I may, I think organizations that I've spoken to in the past, you talk about AI, but analytics has been around for a while. And organizations have been taking information and analyzing it and making recommendations around the information. So that's not new. What's new is the advice, the automation around this is what you should do to counter this potential risk next time. And the speed of making that decision is what's new. And I think that's where organizations are still trying to figure out what works for them.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that came out also this morning was, this is the one technology that's multi-generational, right? It spans generations, it spans industry, it spans vertical. As a sales leader, George, how do you see generative AI helping your sales teams do what they do best? Oh,
we were actually talking about this about a week ago. Helping you to understand the customer is going to be the biggest benefit that AI brings. And when I say understand the customer, there is a plethora of information out there around an organization's strategy, their technology strategy, their security strategy, their business strategies. And for a person to sit there and read through all the plans and all the annual reports, it takes a long time. And so AI tools will be there to be able to quickly summarize, and then fact checking it with your own understanding of what an organization, whether in mining and finance or health, what typically the things they're looking for, and understanding, does this make sense? And if it does make sense, it provides a guide for the way a salesperson should be conversing with customers and prospects around what is important to them. Every organization has got capability enablers, right? And as a salesperson, your job is to actually understand what are those capability enablers that they're looking for, and how technology can support that. And that's where I think AI has the biggest play.
Great, George. I know that you have another session to attend, so I'm not going to keep you too much longer. But before I let you go, what are the top 3 takeaways that you could give our audience in terms of adopting Gen AI in their organizations?
The top 3 would be understand your data, adapt your data to ensure that you can trust it, right? And then get ready to play.
Great.
Right? So that's what I'd recommend.
George, thank you very much for taking the time for joining us on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Suren. Appreciate it.
Thank you, audience, for joining us for another session of CTRL ALT Listen. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest episodes, and we look forward to seeing you soon.